Hello, friend. It's so nice to have you here today. Let's just step right into something quite special together. Somewhere along a ditch bank, a fence line, or maybe just the damp edge of a field near your home, there's likely a quiet shrub growing right now. Nobody planted it, nobody's tending it. Most folks just walk right on by their entire lives without giving it a second glance. But once a year, for just a few short weeks in late summer, it produces something truly remarkable. This overlooked little plant gives us these heavy, beautiful clusters of small, dark berries. Now, you can't just pick them and eat them right off the branch, but when you gather them and cook them down properly, they turn into something just wonderful. They end up tasting, well, like a gentle cross between a rich, dark wine and the deepest, sweetest blackberry jam you've ever tasted. It's a flavor that feels so ancient, yet deeply familiar. Just a lovely little gift from the wild edges of our neighborhoods. Now, a perfectly natural question might cross your mind right about now. If a wild berry really tastes that good and grows so easily all on its own, why isn't it sitting in the produce section at every grocery store? I completely understand why you'd think that. It's the exact same thing I wondered too before I really looked into it. We're just so used to seeing the best foods front and center at the market. But easy and free hasn't always meant profitable. And that little gap between free and profitable, more than anything else, is why this beautiful food quietly slipped away from our tables over the last century. So, what exactly is this hidden harvest? It is the elderberry, a truly wonderful shrub that grows wild across a huge stretch of North America and much of Europe, too. It thrives in exactly the kind of damp, overlooked ground that most of us just stroll past without a thought. Ditch banks, the edges of farm fields, those low corners of a yard where nothing else seems to want to take hold. It has been there all along, friend, just quietly doing its work. Let's talk about why it actually faded from our daily lives. There's no big mystery here, just a simple shift in how we started buying our food. You see, elderberries absolutely have to be cooked before eating. The raw berries and the rest of the plant contain compounds that will give you a rather unpleasant upset stomach if eaten raw. That one extra step, the fact that you can't just pop a handful straight into your mouth like a blueberry, made the elderberry a tough fit for the modern grocery store. Today's markets really want fruit you can eat right out of a plastic clamshell with zero fuss. And on top of that, elderberries are quite delicate. They bruise and spoil very quickly once they're picked, making them genuinely hard to pack onto a truck and sit on a shelf for days. Right around the exact same time, mostly through the middle of the last century, our tastes in home landscaping started to change. We shifted pretty hard toward tidy, uniform foundation shrubs. The neat, orderly kind that a homeowners association is always happy to approve. A sprawling, wild-looking berry bush that dropped fruit just didn't quite fit that polished new look. So between the extra cooking step and a culture shifting toward tidiness over home food production, the elderberry just quietly slipped out of most of our gardens. But the shrubs themselves, well, they kept growing exactly where they always had. I'd like you to just sit with this thought for a moment, because once you notice this little pattern, you'll start noticing it in a lot of other places too. A plant doesn't have to stop working, stop tasting good, or stop growing to disappear from our everyday lives. It just has to become slightly less convenient than something else being sold to us. It's a very quiet shift, but it's the whole story behind a surprising number of good foods that used to be a regular part of a household's year. Section 1. Finding, growing, and safely preparing the elderberry. If you'd like to spot one growing wild in your own neighborhood, just let the changing seasons be your guide. In late winter, the plant is completely dormant. That makes it the perfect time to take a few simple cuttings if you ever want to start a new plant of your own. Then, as the weather warms up into early summer, you just look for flat, lovely clusters of small, cream-colored flowers along the stream banks. And finally, by late summer, those exact same flower clusters will have turned into heavy, drooping bunches of small, dark purple blackberries. It's just a beautiful, quiet cycle to watch unfold right in your own community. Now, let's talk about how to prepare them. The safety rule here is very simple and very important. Step 1. You must pick only the fully dark, ripe clusters of berries. Step 2, just take your time and remove all the stems, the leaves, and any unripe green berries. And step 3, you simmer the berries thoroughly. Simmering beautifully breaks down those compounds we talked about earlier, making the fruit perfectly safe and incredibly delicious to eat. This isn't a scary process at all, friend, just a necessary one. A gentle, patient simmer on the stove is all it takes. I will happily admit to you, My own very first attempt at cooking with elderberries did not go perfectly. It's easy to get a little too excited when you find a wild harvest. I went out and picked a big batch, but I left a fair number of unripe greenish berries mixed right in with the dark ripe ones. I just didn't realize at the time that ripeness mattered quite so much. What I ended up making tasted bitter and just a little harsh. I almost wrote the whole plant off entirely. But it wasn't the plant's fault. It was just my mistake for not sorting them properly first. Once I learned to take my time, pick only the dark ripe berries, and cook them down the right way, the difference was just night and day.
If you ever decide you'd like to plant your own elderberry, I want to reassure you just how genuinely simple and forgiving it is to do. You can easily find them at local native plant nurseries. They happily tolerate the damp, heavy soil that most other fruiting plants really dislike, and once they're established in the ground, they need very little ongoing care from you. You can actually start a whole new bush just by pushing dormant winter cuttings straight into moist ground. It's a remarkably simple way to bring a beautiful, producing plant into your space for years to come.
And the reward for that simple little effort is quite striking. Today, if you go to a health food store or a pharmacy, a tiny bottle of commercial elderberry syrup costs quite a meaningful amount of money for just a few ounces. But what is the cost of harvesting from a mature wild shrub, or one you planted yourself? $0. A single mature bush can produce many pounds of berries every single summer. That is more than enough to make a whole season's worth of beautiful, rich syrup, jam, or cordial for the cost of nothing but a quiet afternoon spent picking and simmering. Now, I am certainly not asking you to go out and plant a whole heavy hedge of these this weekend, but perhaps I could offer a very small, gentle task for next year. Just this. Next early summer, when you're out for a walk, see if you can spot those flat, white flower clusters blooming along a ditch bank or field edge near you. Just make a quiet mental note of where they are. That's all. Once you know where the flowers bloom, you'll know exactly where to return in late summer when those beautiful, dark berries are finally ready. Let's just take a moment to look back at what we've shared today. The elderberry is a wonderful wild shrub native to North America and Europe, providing a genuinely valuable free food source right where it always has. It only faded from our modern view because it didn't quite fit the convenience of grocery stores and because of shifting landscaping trends. Just remember, the ripe, dark berries must always be cooked and never eaten raw. If you follow that one simple rule, you have access to a rich, delicious harvest that most folks just walk right past every single day.
I'd love to hear from you now, friend. Do you happen to have elderberries growing anywhere near your home? Or perhaps, did your own family ever make syrup or jelly the old way? It really makes you wonder how many other forgotten gifts are growing just outside our doors, just waiting to be remembered. Please, take your time and share your memories with me down in the comments. Take good care of yourself, enjoy the quiet moments, and I will see you next time.